and welcome to Sonic Talk number 423. We're recording today live on Wednesday the 21st of October. Join us every week in the chat room, sonicstate.com/live, where we have a fulsome chat room, as well. I'm very proud to say every week. It seems to be getting fuller and fuller, which is all good. If you're not sure what we're on about, we are a music technology podcast. We talk about music production and the technology behind making music, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube. In fact, I suggest you do, because it's not all we do. We put lots of reviews up, gear reviews, interviews, all kinds of good stuff. So do that thing and then you'll know. Anyway, that's it. Message over. I want to say thank you very much to our show sponsors this week. Isotope are telling you about their Break Tweaker, Beats Machinery software, which is pretty awesome, actually. You can actually win a copy if you stay tuned. And if you were here last week, you may have won a copy too. So hang in there and we'll give you the info on A, how to enter the competition, and B, how to get in touch if you have won the competition. Right, that's it. So we'll go over to our panelists. I'm going to start over here with Mr. Dave Spears in his Synth K version 2. Dave Spears, of course, GeForceSoftware.com, makers of fine software instruments, although you might wonder why that would be with so many hardware instruments behind him and what looks like a vintage microphone. You really have changed things around, Dave. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, it's been epic. It's been really epic. God, I mean, when you know, it's not a huge room, so I've been working on a 2008 Mac Pro for ages, and it was time to make the upgrade, but I've still got so much stuff on the 208 Mac that I need to access that regularly, so it was, okay, new Mac Pro, new stuff. Right, everything out the room, rewire, redo everything, new screens, new Mac. Really nice little Pegasus RAID drive system. Beautiful screen, I hasten to add, which Robbie's got as well. For me, it's just like the
is that the super wide one?
Yeah, the LG Mofo screen.
Is that what it's called? LG,
no, it should be, though.
37-inch, isn't it? But it's not 37-inch 16:9.
It's called the 34 something or other.
Oh,
37. I can't remember.
37 monitor. I'm just going to look at that, see if I can find it out.
It's brilliant.
It's just super wide. No, I can't. WXGA monitors.
Yeah, I'll give you a little link. Because I've got a new thingy as well, new webcam as well. Look at that.
Whoa, super wide. Yeah, that's neat. So you can get everything in there.
You can see yourselves.
Oh, that's what, for those of you who haven't seen that, that's what the guests get back at themselves. It's like little celebrity squares type of thing, with so everybody can see everybody else. There's a bit of inside behind.
Big old RAID system up there, which is nice. It's got 6 drives in there. UAD Apollo 8.
Lovely. Is that what we're hearing you? Are we hearing you through that at the moment?
Yeah. In fact, I shouldn't really. Yeah, I've got. Nice. I bought a kind of cheesy podcast mic. It was a bit overpriced, really, for what it is. It's called a Neumann U47, I think. So I thought I'd completely overdo it and use it for this.
Very nice.
But yeah, the Apollo's beautiful. It's really, and can I just say, UAD are utterly amazing. They've always been amazing. I've always loved their stuff. So I got one of the very early serial numbers, and I believe there was a little bit of an issue with a component on only the front inputs, which I probably never use because everything goes in the back. And they emailed to say, actually, your serial number, you know, having installed it all, which honestly took like 2 weeks to put this room back together again. I mean, honestly, the missus was like, can I have my kitchen back, please? No, that's it. I was scared she was actually going to try and cook something on a synth. But they emailed and they said, your serial number is one that's been affected. And rather than you have any downtime, we are shipping a replacement unit out to you. When you get it, take your old one out the rack, put the new one in. Reauthorize your plugs, put the old one in a box. They even included the tape to stick the box down with, and a complete, you know, obviously return paid. And it's like, you know, companies do make mistakes, but it's always been a real big thing here about, you know, if you make a mistake, it's the real benchmark of a good company is how you deal with it. And they have dealt with it amazingly so.
Brilliant. Excellent. I'll have to talk to them about being a podcast sponsor after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dave, thank you very much for joining us. And also we'll go over to Mr. Rich Hilton, who's been travelling and doing stuff in real life rather than here, which is great. How are you, Rich? Been gigging a lot?
I'm well. Yeah, we've been gigging and traveling quite a bit. And I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. Rich, of course, is a keyboard player with Chic, which is why he's been travelling, because they gig incessantly all over the world in kind of zigzag jet-style touring, and also works in the studio with Mr. Nile Rodgers when he's not on stage with him. So pretty much maxed out with Nile, I would say, which is good. If there's anybody you want to be maxed out with, I'm guessing that's the guy, right?
He is the man, and it's more than just good.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to see you here, Rich, and I'm looking forward to getting onto some of our topics. But before we do, we'll say hello to Mr. Robbie Bronneman over there, who's on location, where he's working on an album. You might have seen him in this space before. This is a kind of private studio, and he's producing, and his client very kindly lets him have some time off to talk to us, which is brilliant. And your hardware is growing. As I said earlier, you look like you're in a massive swivelly chair, but it's paneling, right? Acoustic paneling?
Yeah, it's just paneling. So I've got panels up behind because it's basically about a 2 foot thick brick, stone barn. So all the walls are just, stone. So we've brought a load of these clear sonic panels to kind of put behind, and some bass traps in the corner and stuff, and brought the kind of wall a little bit, behind me, so I don't have to have this big space behind me. So it's made it a little bit more controlled.
It does sound different, actually, from previous times. So excellent, so that's good.
Worked well, yeah.
And what stage are you at then? Are you still tracking, or are you in mixing and arranging?
We've nearly got 4 songs totally completed. I like to we like to work on a song and do it to its completion and then move on.
Okay.
So, yeah, as opposed to have loads of eggs and, all
jumping about.
Plates spinning. Well, yeah.
Excellent.
So we've got 3 totally finished and 1 just about to be finished at the end of the week.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Robbie. So we can move straight on. I did say thank you to the sponsors, didn't I? Yeah, so let's do that. Right, so let me press go, and something may happen. This is the new Keith Macmillan Instruments teaser. They haven't actually released official data about it yet. 4-octave sort of touch keyboard, different format to what they usually do. They've got sort of more full-size keys, or they don't appear to move. Pressure modulation, X and Y, very sort of rolly rise, seaboard rise kind of in concept, because it does the multi-dimensional modulation. Expressive, that's what I was looking for. And there he goes. It's always nice to see something new from Keith Macmillan, because they generally do innovate quite a lot, and a lot of their stuff is really kind of fascinating, and it seems to push the boundaries somewhat within their chosen niche. So this one looks like it's going to be about $500, and I'm guessing that's all I know. I mean, but yeah, what's also interesting about this is it's yet another kind of advancement of this expressivity towards keyboard players and allowing keyboard players to get into this kind of multi-dimensional thing, which I'm guessing, depending on what you use it for, could be a very good thing. Depending on, I'm guessing if you're just going to be playing vamping chords, it might not be the thing for you, but certainly for stuff that's got more expression, per note expression. I'll start with you, Dave, because one thing that struck me about all of these things, same with the Rolly Seaboard Rise as well, is the ability to, if you could map those CCs out to various different control voltages and control all of that lovely electronic stuff as well, that could really start to open up the world of electronics and keyboards a bit further than it already is, right?
Yeah. This looks quite fascinating. Am I correct in thinking this is the same price as that little Seaboard thing?
No, the Seaboard the Seaboard is a couple of $100 more. Okay. I think it's £500 or $500. So I think.
Okay. Oh, I'd like to try this. And again, is this I'm doing this, but where you actually wiggle the key, does that seem to have an impact on?
You can, you can do that. It's got the X and Y, so you can do the pitch bend and stuff. I mean, obviously you need something that can receive that information and act upon it, which is obviously the crux of this thing, really, or how you can map all of that stuff.
It's really interesting. I mean, on the original Imposca, we had a kind of guitar synth mode, which effectively gave you 6. It was a multi-timbral version of the patch that you use, and that way you could map it to each individual string, and then you could get your individual pitch bends and stuff like that. And I think in the entire history of the instrument, we had probably about 5 people who used it. So we didn't really implement it on Imp 2. It just seemed to kind of bridge too far. And now looking at this, I'm kind of going, that'll kind of be interesting, because that way you could get individual expression on each of the notes. Certainly in terms of filter cutoff and stuff like that. But I like that whole. It's weird. I was fortunate enough to play one of those Yamaha GX1 keyboards, the humongous organ thing, and the very top keyboard, the little MIDI keys thing, has that thing where you can waggle the note from side to side and it will give you vibrato. And it's quite an interesting thing to use. You can look a bit like a tit after a while, but because your face kind of does that thing as well.
Do you do wah-wah face?
Get into it. Yeah, exactly. But I kind of like anything that gives a keyboard player a little bit more expression is a good thing in my book. I'm a big fan of poly aftertouch, as you know, so.
Yeah, well, particularly if you can dial it in as well. I know Robbie's got the Rolly. Rich was making gestures like he was thumbs up at the top keyboard of the Yamaha. I'm guessing, I don't know, because Rolly are a UK company, they're probably not massively present in the US. I can't think if there are. I mean, there's obviously Hark and Continue. I mean, they are there, but I'm guessing, somebody hasn't popped around and said, hey, Rich, try this. Have you had a go on any of these kind of multi-expression? Because we've got the Roger Lynn instrument, we've got the Hack and Continuum, we've got the Rolly Seaboard range, and now this as well. And also, to be honest, some of the other Keith McMillan instruments do have an aspect of multi-dimensional control, but not quite as integrated as this, I think.
So the question is, have I used any of them? And sort of the answer is no. I do have the Q Nexus, which is sort of not like these. I'd love to try the Rolly and see how I react to that sort of spongy surface idea. I'd love to try this thing. I love the idea of being able to generate vibrato by moving my finger side to side. And the first instrument that I recall doing this was a Yamaha synth from the late 70s called the SY2. But I love doing that. And there's got to be more to this. I have to rethink my thing about where I am in a vertical world in order to control things like filtering and everything. So it would require modifying some technique, but I'm interested to try.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it probably has applications as a separate controller where you would, you might not want it on your stock big MIDI keyboard controller that is going to be, but yeah, elsewhere.
It seems like a really great melody keyboard, for example.
Yeah.
The fact that you can generate those kinds of variations can really help the sort of static articulation of electronics in general. And though I know we can do things to modify that as well, but it's nice to have it under your fingers like that, to feel the music a bit.
Yeah,
It's
no,
good.
I could agree with that. I wonder, I mean, the keyboards on the SY and the GX, I bet those things, when they go, though, I mean, how on earth do you, because they must have all sorts of sensors and have a lot of mechanical aspects to them. They must be,
Yeah.
I bet none of them work anymore, or very few of them. But who
Don't
knows?
know, but the one GX1 I did play was working.
Oh, well,
And
that's
it was
good.
it was at ABBA's studio in
Oh,
Stockholm.
you lucky guy. Which ABBA studio? I think they've closed the building, which is such a shame. That should be historically.
Yes, they've closed Polar Studios, yes.
Another one bites the dust. I know, Robbie. You've got the Rolly Rise. We've talked. The Seaboard Studio.
I've got the Rise as well now.
Oh, have you?
I've got the little one as well, yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
love it so much. I wanted a little one for taking around, and I like the extra aspect of the extra controls on the Rise. Yeah, I'm quite kind of interested by this. What I like about the Rolly is the fact that the keys aren't separated, in that it's one fluid surface. So the way you get bend between notes, I think, will be a very different experience than this, where you've still got a division. I don't quite know how that works in terms of elegantly making smooth bends between like consecutive notes. And obviously you don't have the ribbons at the top and the bottom, which is great with the Rolly, because you can use your thumb. If you're playing a note, you can use your thumb underneath. It's a different instrument, but I mean, like Rich and Dave said, anything that kind of encourages people to think a little bit more outside of the standard keyboard playing style, I think is great. and certainly with some more instruments, hint, being optimized for use with this, without being too much of a pain in the arse to set up, I think would be great.
No pressure,
I mean,
Dave.
the Equator, ironically, I bet you could use the Equator software that Rowley do great with this new Keith McMillan one.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about the Keith McMillan one, because, I mean, you're right about the Rowley and the ability to do the slide stuff, but this seems to kind of be a bit more regimented, which for many people might be a kind of easier gateway to make the leap from a regular keyboard to one of those, because it's more delineated and it's got that multi-layer, so you've got black keys, white keys, which you do have on the Rowley stuff, but you've also got the black keys also extend down parallel to the white keys effectively, don't they? So the whole, like you say, the whole surface is fluid. More in
and
the...
the interesting thing about...
Sorry.
I was going to say, the interesting thing about having the Rowley for a while now, and I've used it quite a lot on this album, got some really great things out of it, is that I don't think of it like I'm playing a keyboard. I really don't think of it like, I'm just playing a spongy keyboard. It just feels like I'm just playing the Rowley. It just feels like a totally separate entity. So although, like you say, there is the chromatic element of the loosely being a chromatic keyboard, you just kind of go into another mode when you play it, which is nice, because it feels like you're mastering another instrument to what you're used to.
Did I hear you say you had to be more accurate with the Rowley in terms of where you place your fingers?
Yeah, I mean, my first couple of weeks with it, everything did sound like a sick cow all the time. As I said before, it was just, everything just sounded like it was wheezy and out of tune, sort of like a bad harmonium sort of thing. But I mean, now that I've kind of got used to kind of, zoning in, if you've got some sort of keyboard skills, I think you can very quickly work out how to not go into the cracks, as it were.
Well, and of course, on the Rise, you can dial out that lateral movement, so you can tone that part down, and so the accuracy improves, I guess, right?
Yes,
until you're better at it, perhaps.
Yes,
so you've just got one note playing.
Just you lean on it.
David Guetta.
But you're right in what you say, that's probably a little bit for just a straight keyboard player who doesn't want to put in, a lot of effort in terms of really learning a new instrument. That probably is more of a halfway house than the Rowley, I would have said.
That's excellent. In the chat room, Gravity Feeder says it's the fretless bass of keyboards, which I think is probably quite an apt an apt one, because they are quite hard to play if you don't know how to play them. I think it's 495. Don't know when it's coming yet, and we don't know, because often with the Keith McMillan stuff, they have other ports and other breakout kind of capabilities. Don't know whether any of that's going to be happening on this, or whether it's just going to be pure, MIDI out or USB to MIDI. We're not sure. I'm guessing it's probably going to have to be a USB, because if you probably can't send that much data over regular MIDI ports with optocouplers. I'd imagine it probably has to go, because I know that's the case with Novation Circuit, for instance, where there's lots of controller data that comes out. They use it over USB for the main bulk of all of that control, because MIDI traditionally just won't handle that, but in hardware, shall we say.
Just very quickly, out of interest, Robbie, have you played a Hacker Continuum?
No, it's always been on my radar, and but it was just really the sheer cost of it and the fact there was nowhere to play one. I was never going to take a punt on it. I mean, even the small 4-octave ones, like way more than like a Rise, than the one I've got, the Studio. So. I was kind of seduced because I saw all the great stuff that Amin Tobin did on his last album with it, and I was thinking, I would love to get one of those. But it's the age-old thing, isn't it? In this modern age of it, you come unstuck because you can't actually physically get to try some of these things out sometimes.
Yeah. It's a good word.
No, I've tried one. I did love it. I just wondered how it compared.
I think Mark Doty's mad for it. I think he's desperately trying to get one.
I'm sure he could get hold of one because he's in the right country for starters. But yeah, well, good. Okay, right. Well, there we go. That's the yes, as I say, that's the KMI K-Board Pro 4, which is the new addition to the range. I'm guessing we'll start seeing them sometime soon, or at least I hope so. Right. There's also this news. It's like a kind of history of electronic music. Well, a history of all the synths Jean-Michel Jarre's got.
So Electronica is a concept based on the idea that I wanted to gather around me people from different generations, people who have influenced me, who are a constant source of inspiration. People also who have marked one way or another, or still are marking today, the electronic music, gathering a kind of tribe of friends, people sharing some similar vision to mine.
Yes, this is the news that, before you all start raving uncontrollably, it's the news that the new Jean-Michel Jarre album is out. Electronica it's called. Volume 1, in fact, because I know a few people who have been working or met Jean-Michel, and they're not in this one, so I'm guessing they might be in the next one, or maybe what they didn't work out, so I don't know, but it's a really interesting concept, this, because he's basically just asked anyone he could think of. I'll bring the webpage up here. This is on the version 1. We've got John Carpenter, Vince Clarke, Armin van Buuren, M83, Gesaffelstein, 3D from Massive Attack, Tangerine Dream, Boys Noise, Little Boots, good to see her there. The F buttons, I won't say it because we'll get expleted, but you can see it on the screen. Moby, Pete Townsend, Laurie Anderson, and Lang Lang, the pianist. And he basically, he's just sort of gone, who do I fancy working with? And they've literally all of them said yes, I'll do it, which is which is brilliant. I imagine being in that position, and essentially, you know, if you were cynical, you could say, oh, it's just a load of featurings, but actually, he's made it much more interesting than that potentially. So yeah, kind of a good move. I haven't had a chance to listen to it all. I mean, it's quite Jean-Michel Jarre later years. It's not as atmospheric and ethereal as perhaps, you know, some people who remember the early stuff, but there's definitely lots of different flavors to all of it. I know, Rich, I mean, Jean-Michel Jarre, that you know, his first forays in, you know, the Oxygen 2 and all of that stuff, I mean, and Equinox, absolutely groundbreaking, because when I was going through this, I was listening to that, and then, you know, the next playlist would just sort of kick in YouTube, and it would be the beginning of Oxygen, and you just think, God, that is so evocative. It's astonishing how much impact he made. And great idea for a project.
Yes, and seems to be all the rage these days. It's very, very smart for him, by the way, to be doing this now with all the interest people have in synthesis again, and with his standing as a pioneer, as you point out. For him to choose now to do this is very smart of him. And a lot of guys are doing albums with a lot of guests. I work for one of them. And the album he's working on now has a lot of very well-known guests. I think it has to do with a lot of things, but mostly I think it has to do with the difficulty in getting music noticed these days, and the gradual slide from commodity into the trash can that music is sort of in. And so in order to get noticed, you have to provide as much star power as possible, it seems.
But it's branding, isn't it?
So, yeah, for example, the new Duran Duran song has Niall and Janelle Monáe on it. Everybody seems to be working with somebody else these days, and it seems to help get these pieces of music noticed. So I think that that's what drives it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I've noticed, I mean, you look at the shit that for each one of these collaborators, there is a video. Well, not all of them, actually, but a hell of a lot of them. They haven't got round to everybody, so they put a lot of effort into kind of filming the meetings and stuff. The Tangerine Dream stuff is really interesting. I haven't had a chance to watch them all, but they've really...
Now, if I may say... I'm sorry. If I may say also that Jarre, I'm sure his artistic motivations are pure, and I think he really did think about it and consider these things. And I don't think they're just sort of bottom feeding what's left of the record business. I think there is an artistic motivation here, and I don't want to seem that cynical about it, but I am pretty cynical about it.
Yes, I suppose so. But, I mean, it's a big event. I can't think when the last Jean-Michel Jarre album came out. I suppose if I'd done any research, I'd be able to trip that fact off the top of my head, but I can't. This is a really smart move, and it's a big event, really, isn't it? It really is a big event. Robbie.
Yes, sorry. I've been following it quite keenly for the last few months, and I bought it the day it came out and had a good listen to it. Interestingly, there's a couple of tracks on it where the top end is so cranked, it puts my teeth on edge. There's a couple of sounds in it. I don't know, weird mix choices on a few things. It really is. Like in the car, it literally, it was like I was going, ah. But anyway, that aside, I quite like it. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I always kind of thought it probably would be.
Well, inevitably, I suppose, yeah.
I think the ones with Vince Clarke and stuff like that really particularly work great. I could do without some of the more sort of cheesy dance collaborations. And I like the John Carpenter one's great, and the Massive Attack one. But I think like Rich said, it's not a cynical move. I think he genuinely did go around, and as opposed to just sending files backwards and forwards, and just adding a bit here and adding a bit there, he did go and spend time with all the people he worked with. And it was
God, it's John Michel. Jarre at the door. Quick, clean the studio. It's a mess. Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Vince Clarke said when he got the call, he said it was literally the most famous person he'd ever met. That's how he saw it, which I thought was quite funny.
That is pretty funny.
So I think it's a great project. So I wonder if he might try and wheel it out for some sort of limited tour.
Well, I suppose you could. Yeah, you could. I mean, if you tour enough, I mean, there's people from there's certainly a lot of people from Europe and France that could show up, and yeah, so maybe so. That's not a bad idea. I mean, I guess, wherever you are in the world, perhaps that would work.
The only thing that surprised me, I mean, as a lover of electronic music, some of the choices surprised me, and some of the omissions of people who I think are very influential in electronic music who just aren't even on the radar with it. But perhaps, like you say, if there's a potential volume 2, there are some other people in the wings.
Well, I think I think his idea was, if you sort of read and listen to the videos, is to kind of have it as a catalogue of people who have been influential. He's particularly interested when they're talking about the fact, and I don't know whether this is a controversial thought, but that the electronic music sort of originated in France and in Germany, with the early Urkam and Musique Concrète and all of that sort of stuff, and also in terms of popular music with Klaus Schulze. Is it Klaus Schulze? And Tangerine Dream, and that. So that one was particularly resonant for him, and I just thought that was it didn't sound like marketing nonsense. It actually sounded like he really kind of meant it. I know, Dave, you're into synths, I think. It's an interesting idea, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll tell you what I found most disturbing about it is that, does Jean-Michel Jarre ever age?
Yeah, that's really
when I looked at those videos, it's like the Peter Pan, like the Cliff Richard of Electronica, maybe. I don't know. Strange, isn't it?
He's still 40. Yeah.
I think what was interesting is you and I had this discussion about Oxygen the other night, and when I put the phone down, I went and listened to it, and I have to say I lost interest in everything after the China concerts. There was something it just didn't work for me. That
Fairlights
and stuff. Yeah, maybe it was, and maybe it's a generational thing. I know a lot of people who are into the later stuff who are younger than me, born later than me. Whereas I think, for that kind of mid-late 70s, Oxygen was quite a remarkable album. So I listened to it again, and it is incredibly atmospheric. And I think I've subliminally absorbed a huge influence from that. Those kind of Berlin school sequences with the lush Selena and chordal stuff going over the top, and particularly the EMS kind of effects and stuff like that. It's very, I can kind of go, oh, I've definitely nicked a bit of that. Oh, yeah, I've definitely borrowed from that. I've definitely had that.
And combinations, so, yeah. He's figured out a load of combinations for us, didn't he? What goes well with what.
Yeah. So yeah, I did listen to it after we talked earlier today. Nothing's jumped out at me yet. In fact, a lot of it seemed very kind of trademark Jean-Michel Jarre sounds, patches, which I know, people who are really into him will just love all of that and lap it up. And like Robbie said, I think the Vince Clarke one works particularly well. I like the Zero Gravity one, actually. That was kind of more mellow and laid back. And also really interesting, I've had a dialogue recently with Pete Townsend and Vince Clarke, weirdly enough. So it was kind of interesting to see them on there, particularly Pete, who I didn't realise until recently kind of how huge a synth dude he was, and how a lot of the Who demos were actually written by Pete. He would kind of take all of these kind of electronic compositions in and go, right, we need to turn this into a band track now. So yeah, fascinating.
No, that is interesting. I'll tell you one thing that did strike me, and that is, and that may be something to do with my advancing years, is I'm finding it really tiring listening to loads of tracks with drums on. I just sort of, in many ways, because of the nature of the way that drums are so far forward in a mix, it obscures so many of the other good stuff that's in there in a lot of ways. And I'm kind of like really, I'm going back and listening to Equinox, where any rhythmical aspects are very gentle and sort of just floating about, whereas the main, everything is broader. And I suppose that's something that I just thought, I would like to listen to all of this, but I can't be bothered to listen to banging drum tracks. And that's probably, well, it is me, obviously.
One point of interest, I've listened to it a few times. On the second half of the one with Vince Clarke, there's this big kind of clap sound that comes in. And I swear that it's the whole time it's shifting all out of time. It's driving me mental. I've had to skip in the car every time it comes along. I just can't bear it. So if anyone wants to concur with me that I'm not going mad, I'd be very happy.
It's analog, man.
Yeah, it's analog. Yeah, it's almost like someone said, "I'm going to play this in by hand because I can."
Yes. Well, that would have to be John Michel, because otherwise, maybe you wouldn't get away with it. That's a nice spot there. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's break these up a bit and just have a little word from our sponsors. Who are going to be talking about Break Tweaker, assuming I can get the video to play. This is a perennial issue. This is obviously designed by BT, developed by Isotope. Break Tweaker is not just a drum machine. It's a drum sculpting, beat sequencing environment that blurs the line between rhythm and melody. You can actually put quite long samples into it and have steps and slices jumping about, all sorts of modulation possibilities. It can give you beats an ever-evolving depth that gets better the longer they play over time. You can use rhythmic slicing to drive everything from pitch melodic lines, as I said, to sweeping rhythmic overtures. You can top it off with a big drum sample library, which is curated by BT and Isotope and other top producers. Explore a new era of rhythmic possibilities with this forward-thinking, forward-sounding instrument. And of course, you can always try it out for yourself. Go to isotope.com/breaktweaker and you'll be able to download a functional demo and see for yourself just how cool it all is. Right, and of course, this comes to the time of the show where we announce the winner of the competition. I think I'll start with the new competition. What we want you to do is you need to be on Twitter. If you're not watching the video, I'll explain what goes on. You need to tweet the hashtag. This week, it's Beat Suite, as in hotel suite, not candy sweet, and the hashtag Break Tweaker. Those are both single-word hashtags, Beat Suite and Break Tweaker, to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. And we'll pull a random winner from the resulting tweets. And of course, with the tweets, you can attach pictures, videos, witty comments, perhaps not so many insults if you can possibly avoid it. And we will just track them and you can win. But stick something fun on there as well, because we might retweet it if it's particularly enjoyable. And we want to say we do have a winner from last week. The winner is a chap called Peter Churchyard. And his Twitter handle is, now if I could read this, I should have made that font bigger because it's too far away, the screen. It's called, he's called Code Wizard 58. That's at Code Wizard 58. Peter Churchyard, you have won your very own copy of Break Tweaker. The Isotope Fairy will take that and give it to you via email. If you get in touch with us and show us your email, you tweeted, "Since I have no sense of rhythm, tweet to win, creative drums and Break Tweaker." So, yeah. Good point. Well made. So, Peter Churchyard, get in touch. That's at CodeWizard58. And you have now access to a full working copy of Break Tweaker. So, let's get on to another topic. Let's see what we've got here. Yeah, here we go. This is basically Eventide releasing their Anthology X, which is pretty much everything they've ever done in hardware. The classic harmonizers, single channel ones. Let's have a look. H3000, gorgeous reverbs, the whole lot. I've got the website up here as well, and there are a ton in here. I mean, and these are sort of classic, as it said. You've heard them on countless studio albums, and singles and whole lot. I mean, there's a big bundle. I mean, it's not a, I don't know. I suppose it is quite affordable. It's $699, but if you already own some Eventide plugins, you can you could get various discounts, which is well worth thinking about. I'll come to you first, Rich, because I mean, I'm guessing, in your studio career, which has spanned more years than mine, say, and probably you had your hands on some of this stuff, because I very rarely get to play with the Eventide stuff, but there's so much legacy in there, isn't there? I mean, there's an enormous amount of stuff, and I guess these are algorithm ports, and I guess there must be something to do with the electronic modelling as well. Have you found Eventide have played a big part in your recording histoire?
Absolutely, no question about it. And I do look to do things that I used to do in Eventide hardware with other things and software these days, and it's becoming easier as Sound Toys to keep releasing stuff. But this is a very nice package of amazing emulations, and if it sounds good, which I don't know, it should be wonderful. I do have their Ultra channel, I believe it's called, which they were giving away briefly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I got that as well.
And it's really nice. And the omnipressor in particular in there is really nice. The EQ seems to work well. It's got gating. It's got EQ. It's so I expect it's all going to be good, but I haven't heard it, obviously. But 910 harmonizer, 949 harmonizer were big in my life at one time.
Yeah, and having access to all of that stuff is great. I mean, I know, Robbie, I mean, guess you're kind of producing a lot of the time. Some of those classic sounds that you may want to kind of revisit or whatever, are you finding... I mean, I guess you're working in the box now, so you probably haven't got a lot of Eventide hardware lying about the place, right?
No, I did use it for a little bit, because Howard, for years, used to have Bob Clearmountain's UK racks just permanently in his studio, and he had some stuff in there that I used to fiddle around with a bit. But correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much all these plugins that are in this package have been out for years anyway.
Okay.
They just bundle it all together. Pretty much all of that stuff's been around for 4 or 5 years, if not more. But I think it's just a convenient package at a kind of enticing price.
Yeah, $699, I think, if you're coming to it fresh. But if you already own some of them, you get various amounts of discount.
I like Rich, and kind of the nearest I get to it is, I guess, things like the crystallizer in Sound Toys. I'm such a massive Sound Toys fan. And actually they all got upgraded this week, didn't they, to version 5 with the new racks and everything, which is great.
Ooh, well, that's a good tip.
Cost me the princely sum of $50, which I thought was a bargain.
That is a bargain.
Their microshift also models the old 910, harmonizer behavior.
Yeah. I know, Dave, you probably like me were perhaps tinkering in studios or watching other people tinkering in studios when if you had Eventide stuff, you were kind of top drawer, right? this and maybe a Lexicon 480.
Yeah, and a Bell, what was that?
BD80, yeah.
Yeah.
For sampling. That's taking it back.
I don't think I was allowed to touch... Well, that was used for drums, wasn't it? I don't think I was allowed to touch any of those. There was a kind of clear demarcation in those days. You're the synth dude. Don't touch the desk and don't touch any of that stuff in the rack. That's it. You create that sound that I've got in my head and it goes something like that. You kind of breathe away for a few hours and then they go, okay, that's it. So, I was around this stuff, but I never really used any of it. But it's interesting because I like the Sound Toy stuff as well, and it's interesting that the microshift is a bit of an emulation.
Yeah.
So I've unwittingly been seduced by the Eventide sound. I know that.
I wonder if because obviously there are other ranges of effects that perhaps aren't showing up yet in this sort of form, and that would be something that would be kind of interesting to explore. I wonder if you've got any kind of wishes, either any of you guys, as to what you'd like to see available. Some of those classic algorithms from other effects units that maybe are companies that no longer do it. Have you got any wishes there, Robbie? Is there something that you'd like to see?
We already got one of the ones I wanted, which was the AMS, which came on the UAD, I think, last year. I think there's the other companion AMS. I've forgotten what it's called now. There's the what were they? There was the reverb and the delay one.
Yes, they had lots of blinky red lights on them, didn't they?
The other one. I'm hoping they'll do the other one, whatever the other one is. But I don't really have much first-hand knowledge of it. I just remember it was kind of the era of the music I love. So but yeah, I mean, we've got so much available now, haven't we? I mean, God, we're just overrun with so many choices and plugins. I just find myself my plugin buying gets much more considered nowadays. I mean, I used to be like, I've got to have that one because it makes the set that goes with that one, and now I just don't. I'm not into all that. I've just got a clear set of tools that I know I use every day on everything I do, and I like to kind of gradually add a few extras to that, as opposed to just sort of just buying everything coming out.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the idea of because I grew up with the old Alesis effects, the 8-bit and the 12-bit, the
Right.
MIDI Verb 1, MIDI effects, MIDI Verb 2, which still has some amazing kind of big reverb. Well, I thought they are. They probably don't sound anything like as good as the other things. SPX 90s, Rev 5, Rev 7, that kind of thing. I mean, it'd be nice to see some of those things available. I know maybe they are, and I just haven't looked hard enough. I don't know. Am I living in cloud cuckoo land, or can you see anything else? Can you think of anything else you'd like to see modelled? I mean, I guess particularly it's going to be more in sort of time domain, but maybe not. Rich.
EMT 240 gold foil. I would like to see that modeled. We have pretty much the rest of the EMTs well modeled. Why not that one?
That one.
I'm not pining away for stuff that looks graphically on screen like the stuff I used to use necessarily. I mean, it's all well and good, and I do enjoy my UAD stuff, but as I consider what I want to use on a thing, the fact that it's got a faceplate that looks like an old Neve is less interesting to me than what it actually sounds like and how it works in this. I don't assume there's a certain seduction that takes place with all this, graphic representation of what is essentially software code, and it may or may not match, what it is what it is. And I have no problem with using them or using things that don't emulate old days stuff. So I don't really pine away for this, the old Yamaha reverbs, the SPX. I'm not that romantic about stuff, as you've probably figured out by now.
I think I got that.
But an EMT 240 gold foil would be nice now that we have the BX20
what
and
is that?
UAD.
Don't know that one.
It's a smaller EMT reverb that used gold foil rather than that enormous plate in the 140. And it was a really great sounding, different character reverb to the 140. And the studio I worked in had one, and I really liked it.
Oh.
And we also had a BX20, and like I said, they now have finally modeled that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, the BX20, I know because
I'm enjoying that a lot.
Will's actually
wonderful.
Will's got an
Cars.
EMT 240 plate, and he's also got a BX20 reverb, which it looks like a Leslie cabinet, and I guess the springs run up and down in it. I think it's spring, isn't it? But it's also got this weird thing where the left and the right outputs sound very different, so you can create this quite wide spread of sounds, and it's just got a particular flavour to it. It's very warm, and they look fantastic. It looks the sort of thing that you need to leave a little can of Mr. Sheen and a duster to keep it, to keep it all kind of looking good. Yeah, and that's AKG, isn't it? BX20.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's on the UAD now.
Right, yeah, I think they released it just recently.
Yeah, it's great.
But in reverbs lately, I've been romancing these exponential audio reverbs, and the R2 does that colored sort of lexicon-y thing really, really well, and it doesn't look like a lexicon. It just gives me that stuff that I liked.
Is that company, Rich?
Exponential audio. I'm getting there.
Exponential audio has two
go.
reverbs, Phoenix Verb and
me by.
R2, that are both outstanding and very different.
Let's have a look. The products: Excalibur, Phoenix Verb, and they've gone for a very sort of modern OS type of interface, which means it's uncluttered and you can see what you're doing, which is another thing, isn't it? It's sort of all very well having
pretty straightforward to use, and it just things sound great right out of the box.
Let's see, what do they call it?
I tend to have all my reverbs covered pretty much with the UAD stuff and the Valhalla ESP ones. And then a bit Altiverb thrown in for a bit of real stuff sometimes.
Yeah, got that too. The MT 250 in UAD is particularly glorious, I think.
MT. Is that the one that looks like the space console?
Yeah,
with the big
ships. It's got the handles on it.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that. No, that's the one. I really like that one, actually. That's got a certain something about it.
Never seen one of those in real life.
No, I think I have. I think they used to have one at the studio I used to work at, or they had one come in. I'm just curious, while we're on the subject of reverb stuff, so do you tend to have like in the way that you would have in your desk when you used to split the effects returns on one side, so you'd have, your small reverb, big reverb, short delay, long delay on auxes 1 to 4. Do you have a template way that you set up if you're working in that way? Do you do that, Robbie?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I have like about 8 different reverbs and delays for different things that are all permanently in a template. Yeah. And I always have like a couple of like special effect ones, like big modulated shimmery type ones for shoving stuff into, and they're always permanently set up.
Yeah, in my case, they'd always permanently be on as well. Without the drums, it's fine, you see.
Yeah.
Rich, what about you? Do you do the same thing? Do you have a sort of template, or do you tend to build as the job requires it?
I have a mental template, and sometimes I create a physical template from which I can copy the things, but it essentially boils down to a few reverbs, a bunch of delays at different rhythmic subdivisions, some effecty kinds of things like Robbie described. Some of them go swoosh, some of them are like, harmonizer style effects. And then after I've got all that, I build from there, and sometimes individual things get their own ambience within the mix anyway, and sometimes they just get dumped into one of these various things that are often dumping into others of those various things.
Right, I've got it.
If that helps.
Yeah, no, that does. What about you, Dave? Because you're also an Apollo, a UAD user. Do you find that that's what you're using for reverbs? Because you also use Logic, don't you? And the what's the convolution reverb in that called? I've forgotten what it's called. It's just not bad.
Space Designer. I do use that. Yeah, I do use that quite a bit. I've got a request, though, for a plugin, please. If Sony, this is a very left one, if Sony are listening, I think it's the D7 digital delay. I really like that software. That's a big, big underworld unit. It's part of a few sounds that are real trademark sounds. And, of course, the displays die over time, and it's like, Dave, can you find some displays for this? Can you fix this? Can you get that? Can you find another one of those? Can you do this? So to have that in software would be really, really cool.
That's this guy, right? Single rack.
Yeah. It's got some very distinctive stuff in it.
Didn't they used to do some sort of convolution type or impulse type reverb that had a wooden case?
Yeah. They did, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Looked like the dashboard of a limousine. I seem to remember.
It had like a walnut dash, didn't it?
I can't remember what that was called.
It was like the companion to go with the VL7 almost.
Yeah, exactly.
What a great idea. I don't know what it sounded like, but I'm guessing it's probably rare as the proverbial rocking horse stuff. Anyway, okay, well, that's the news of that's the Lexicon stuff. But I mean, if you want to get hold of the whole thing in one go, and maybe you already own some Lexicon stuff, I forget what the pricing is, but most retailers have got it listed if you already own, and I guess it's a downloady thing. Okay, right. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. Yeah, I'm going to go straight to this just because I think it's quite funny and it might work. As we know, today is Back to the Future Day. If you're a fan of 80s movies, don't worry, I'm not going to get into what it was like 30 years ago, but this is
Back to the Future,
the trailer.
Marty leads
this is where they went when they went forward to the future.
Anything in the history of Hill Valley. Well, history is going to change.
And 1985 is not his year. But Dr. Brown is about to change all that.
Good times, eh?
Time machine.
I won't play the whole thing. And obviously there's been much, there's been all sorts of, I don't know if you watched Newsnight in the UK, there was a very starting where Jon Snow got into a DeLorean and they did all this graphics of him flying around the universe and interviewing various scientists about, what was actually happening. Were the things predicted then the things that are actually happening? And I thought rather than do it that way, what about going forward? In 30 years' time, what kind of music technology do you envisage seeing or that might be possible? Or you'd like to see possible? I know it's a bit random, but I thought it just in homage to Back to the Future Day, which the world seems to be very caught up in.
Can I just say, by the way, Nick, I've just sent you a link. The doc actually did a special message for today.
Really?
Yeah, I've just sent you the link for it. He's in a DeLorean and everything.
The doc. Let me see. Where did you send?
I sent it to your email.
Okay. There we go. Let me have a look. Did a special video. All right. Let's see if we. Let's have this. Okay. Oops.
Great start. If my calculations are correct, it is now precisely October 21st, 2015. The future has finally arrived. Yes, it is different than we all thought. But don't worry. It just means your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one.
What a great message. Thanks, Robbie. That was very kind.
Right.
So back to my original question. Oh, actually, no. Before we go there, Dave Robinson sent in a Back to the Future joke. Dave Robinson, of course, editor of Pro Sound News. He said, question, why are there no electric pianos in Back to the Future? Answer, because where they're going, they don't need roads. Ta-da! There we go. That was fairly rubbish. Fairly rubbish, but there we go. Right. Okay, Dave, you're a man who's got a lot of old technology about the place. What do you think, 30 years' time from now, if you were going forward to the future, what would you anticipate or like to see in music technology?
What would I really, really like to see in 30 years' time? Music being valued and musicians being able to make a living. There's a controversial statement, if ever there was one. We could look back on this era in 30 years' time and go, you know what? That was terrible. Now at least we're earning some money. That would just be really something for me.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And the musicians. So, yeah, that's it.
If we're actually even using money by then.
If we're even...
Yeah. Well, you've got your Apple Pay thing out.
One of my old tracks at #1 worldwide. Yeah. Or whatever the equivalent of #1 is.
You need that almanac, Nick, so you could just go back and anticipate and rewrite the hits and pass them off as your own.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. I don't know. What about you, Robbie? Anything you care to share?
I don't know. I think I'm with Dave. I think Dave. What Dave said. That was what I was about to say.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Look back at this period as being the bleak era, the sort of cold years of music.
I think there's got to be a bunch of incredible artificial technology as well.
There's some very interesting stuff. Some people have posted that whole thing about the faces being able to superimpose your mouth movements on faces of obviously dead people and stuff like that. That's scary and quite exciting in equal measure, really, because that's just rife for abuse. If we think the whole piracy sphere has been abused, that's
personality
just
theft, image theft.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to grab things in the air like Iron Man does. Minority Report style. Some of that sort of business. Get rid of these monitors and have these clear monitors they're always showing us in those films.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe by then we'll actually have a flying car. Who knows? I don't know. Rich.
Yes.
What do you think? Discuss.
I think that the article I read by the guy who predicted sort of the downfall of the music business, who refers in this to the crisis of proliferation, where everybody has so much that none of it's worth anything anymore. And then he goes on to predict that the three-dimensional printer will change the face of business completely, because now when you need a new kitchen set, you can basically print it in your garage rather than having to order it from Amazon or go to... Yeah, that's the guy. And the idea that most of the hard goods that we now have to purchase at retail will no longer be needed to be purchased, and what that might do to the world economy. I mean, those are some of the things I'm thinking about. But I like Dave's idea a lot better, and it's much more uplifting. So I'm going to go with that.
That is an interesting concept, isn't it? The notion, this is the guy you were talking about. I actually ordered his book, which, as you can see, I haven't even opened yet. That's the Jacques Attali Noise, The Political Economy of Music. But yeah, it's the interesting. So, currently we license software. We don't own the software. We license music. We don't physically own it. We have a digital copy. So perhaps in the future we won't own anything. We'll just download the blueprints, the license of the blueprints, so we can print off maybe you could buy a license for 10 years worth of washing machines, or a sofa that will last 5 years rather than 2 years, or whatever, that sort of stuff. That's an interesting
from a developer's point of view. There's something very scary about that, in that, can you imagine the tech support calls? Somebody's trying to print a washing machine.
Or a power tool, God forbid.
But do you think we'll get to the place where you'll be able to replicate electrical components as well as... Because at the moment, printing's effectively just plastic objects, isn't it? I mean, will we get to a point where you could replicate all the electronics to make a device, or is it just physical, like the buttons snapped off on your washing machine, or are we talking way beyond that, do you think?
That's a good point.
Thought I saw an article about somebody printing a car or some sort of vehicle.
Wow.
Right.
I haven't seen that one yet. That would be that, but that still requires that's most, I guess, mechanical, perhaps more than electrical, apart from the actual combustion.
No, I get Robbie's point. I get Robbie's point. The limitations of the plastic and the non-conductivity and all that. I understand.
At the minute, it's a strange technology, isn't it? I know a few people who bought 3D printers expecting, to be able to make parts for synthesizers and buttons and things like that, and have just gone, actually, it really isn't there yet. Not on a budget, anyway.
You're better off buying a 1970s Plasticraft set and getting some and doing it that way with molds.
yeah, clay or Play-Doh.
You have to.
Well, those things you used to fill with plaster of Paris, the rubber things, and then take them off. And you'd have like a little Beatrix Potter character or something.
And you'd paint them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That is excellent. I wanted to get that one in there because I noticed that time was moving on. So perhaps we might not get to some of the other topics, which are quite. Unless there's anything specific that you would like to have the other two. I mean, they're mostly maybe do quickies actually, because the first one was is the I don't think I've got the click for that. It's the new Analog Solutions Nyborg single voice. Let me see if I can bring that one here. Just a few new synths that are coming out. This is the Analog Solutions. Let me just try and make that a bit bigger. It's a single voice synth, 2 oscillators, kind of similar in concept to the Mother 32 without the sequencer, but sort of, and the less patch points. But people have seemed to be quite excited about it. It doesn't look like it's Euro-rack-able, but it does sound like it's going to have those nice oscillators and quite creamy filters. I haven't got any of their stuff. I have got one in for review. So that'll be a quick one. And then the other quick one was the, let me see, is it, yes, it's the news of the Erebus Dreadbox modular stuff, which does, I mean, I'm excited by that because their stuff sounds fantastic. As you know, I'm a big fan of the... a big fan of the Erebus, which I think is a lovely sounding instrument. So that is quite interesting. And Robbie, you sent something in as well.
Yeah, which, that looks cool, that thing.
I'm just trying to find now. This is the, what is it? It's the Monami. It looks a bit like a monomachine. It's got that Electron kind of form factor. This is...
It's a case that's got all the utility modules at the top ready. And it's got breakouts already for analog and everything. So it's like a unit that's ready just to put a few of your own Euro-rack stuff in. It's all self-contained.
So it's sort of a fancy case that will interface with Monami kind of technology. Is that? I mean, I am absolutely.
I think you can just put Euro-rack modules straight down the front, and you've got proper analog breakouts, at non-Euro-rack level and all that on the back.
Okay. So that top layer is the breakout, and the bottom layer is the Euro-rack modules. I see.
Yeah. So the top layer is kind of useful utilities like mixers and stuff that they already provide.
Okay.
Seems like quite a nice, elegant solution for a portable setup.
That does look fun. Are you starting to hanker now?
No.
The thing is, a man in your position who's producing records, and one has to move on. Otherwise, your sound will become sort of, it won't move along all the time. You have to buy some more stuff, Robbie.
No. The only thing I might concede, I might actually buy one of the boutique synths when it comes.
Actually, I've got those. I got an NDA, not an NDA, a loaner form the other day, and they should be en route. But
there's a guy who's done a review online, and he does direct comparison. He's got because all I wanted to see was somebody with a Jupiter 8 and one of those in front of them, and a Juno with one of those in front of them, instead of all these demos playing like techno stuff, which is totally irrelevant to the units. But there's actually a guy online, I can't remember who it is, got a Jupiter 8 there, and he goes, this is the Jupiter 8 patch, this is the patch on the thing. And certainly online, they almost seem imperceivable. And he goes through quite a few patches on both instruments, which I thought sounded pretty impressive.
That's what I was going to suggest that me and Nick did.
Dave, I was going to say, yeah, there's a Jupiter 8 there, and I've got a 106, but
I
mine's
think you might have a bit more.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think you could stretch it a bit further because he only does 2 or 3 patches. But I mean, yeah, I think that's what everybody wants to see is a proper side by side.
Interesting.
I'm going to do a side by side very soon. This is the only thing I've bought recently. Well, we've bought recently. So I showed this to Nick earlier. So there is Prophet 5 Rev 3.
Yeah.
Oh, Prophet 5 Rev 2.
What's the difference between a 2 and a 3?
Chips, SSM versus Curtis. So I really want to do AB on that.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, because the SSM stuff is very snappy. That's the stuff like it's in the Cat and Poly 6 and stuff like that. Very sharp filters, very snappy envelopes, aggressive, nice. So yeah, and for me the Curtis stuff is nice, but it's a bit wimpy sometimes.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. I always remember it being thought of as not as good as some other stuff, or maybe it's the implementations of it. But yeah, Dave, I'm definitely up for coming up and or doing something with you on that. I mean, like I say, I've got a 106 here, but it is broken and it works for a little while, and then it makes these really quite fabulous, distorted, crazy sounds, which are great but completely unpredictable. And obviously, I doubt if they'll have built that functionality into the boutique version of the 6. The 106.
We haven't got Junos, but I'd bring the 8 down.
Ooh, okay. It's a date.
Well, that would be a really interesting thing. I find this really fascinating because, we've been modelling stuff for years and we are exceptionally anal about it. And it's quite funny, actually, when Rich was saying earlier about the GUI stuff. We had an incident at NAMM years ago where this guy came up and was kind of like, I hate companies like you because all you do is put this kind of GUI of an instrument that I love on a generic back end, generic code. And it really drives me nuts. And I just kind of just let him. He was in love with the Oscar, basically, and was kind of miffed that we'd done something in software, which took an inordinate amount of time. So I just put the headphones on him and left him there. And 25 minutes later, he got off that machine just grinning from ear to ear going, And it turned out, I had no idea who this guy was, but it turned out he was a reviewer for Electronic Musician, which I believe is why we got that editor's choice that year. But
wow.
It was one of those weird moments. So now, it's funny because it's almost legitimized now. You get the kind of big Japanese companies doing, which is essentially code.
Yeah.
Everyone's going, I find it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good stuff, So, yeah, I'd really like to sit down.
Well, let's check it out. It seems like a funny thing for an actual representative of a publication to come up and do to a manufacturer, to be honest.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, I think he was a freelancer, but it was from our perspective, it was a moment of joy because I didn't say anything. I didn't try and convince him otherwise. I just put the headphones on. We'll just play it and see what you think. And we could not get him off for like 25. Well, I just left him for 25 minutes. So for him to turn around grinning was like, yeah, see, it's worth all that effort.
Does that mean you're going to be going to NAMM next year then? Just to try and recreate that wonderful, warm feeling out of all the world of... No, okay.
No, you could never recreate those moments. They're lost in time.
Like tears in the rain.
Yes, that's very weird. I was trying to think of a Back to the Future reference, but failed.
No, sorry, Blade Runner will do instead. That's all right. Well, anyway, yes. So I forgot where I was going. I think I was going to just those were the things that were coming, and that we were going to say goodbye, something along those lines. I don't know, Rich. Have you got hankering for anything? I mean, because there's so much of this sort of little boutique. I use the word with a small b, not a capital B. Boutique analog stuff coming along, and a lot of it's got some great character, and there are real gems in there. Have you spotted anything thinking, actually, I want to try one of those out and or get my hands on one?
Well, I've tried so little of it that I basically want to try all of it out. But I'm interested to see products being released like that Moog product that you guys talked about last week. And it's just an interesting thing to see the decisions people are making. For example, it seems these days people are quite satisfied with 2- and 3-stage envelope generators. The 4-stage envelope generator seems to be an extremely boutique item. I noticed this on the Moog Mother 32, and I noticed it on the synth you showed earlier today. Was that? Who was that? Who made that synth we looked at earlier today? It had 3. It had a decay release knob, basically, kind of like the old Mini Moog.
It's probably the Erebus.
That was Nyborg.
Nyborg, possibly, yes. Okay. Okay. That's an interesting...
But in any case, it's interesting to me that people are kind of backing off on the envelope generator features and giving it, like Moog has switchable sustain. You know, it's on a switch rather than on a knob. People are making these decisions to do this, and I find it interesting. And it was kind of disappointing to me in the Moog product, which otherwise sounded magnificent.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
The envelope generator on the Phenol's really advanced, really quirky.
Cool.
All sorts of crazy things with that. I'm loving the Phenol. Using it all the time.
Oh, that's good. I still
you can see it's incredibly patched up at the moment. Patched up to the hilt.
Excellent.
Wow.
You got to be careful when you're reaching across the desk and you haven't got your big fancy cufflinks on, because you could just pull them out.
Yeah, it's ripped out. Yeah. But like I said, I do maintain banana plugs do make you definitely feel like a mad professor more than 3.5 mil jacks for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose just coming out of it, jumping about it, to me now, it's just about the musicality of something. I don't really care about the specifications anymore. That's sort of irrelevant. If you use it and you just go, oh, this just makes make me want to do stuff. Sounds come out of it. Yeah. I can find those sweet spots. I'm not going, how do I do this? Or where's the menu item? And that's the thing that's difficult with some of these instruments that are a kind of mix of, menu plus hardware controls, because crossing the divide is a really difficult thing to get right, I think. And lots of people get it right, but also people get it wrong too. So it's it's just about, can I switch it on and instantly be doing stuff that I go, oh, this is great. And I don't know whether that's just laziness for me, because I've reviewed so many synths and I can't be bothered to put the time in. If it needs that much time to find something musical coming out of it, then it feels like maybe it's failed in some way to me. I don't know.
And I suspect that will probably be a lot of people's experience with the boutique stuff, even if it doesn't end up being 100% to some people, aficionados kind of spec. I think it's that fact that there's every feature's got its own thing. I think a lot of people have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Okay, well, I think on that note, we'll probably call it King Sunny, as they say in olden days. So thank you very much to everybody for listening. I want to say thank you very much also, Dave Spears, for joining us. Been a pleasure having you aboard. Once again, seeing your sparkly new room. It does look have you painted it as well? Because it looks neater somehow.
No, I didn't go that far. It was only this whole side had to come out. And I'll tell you what I do like as well. That's a new thing, this little PreSonus monitor station.
Oh yeah, they're useful.
That's cool, because I can switch between the two computers, and with the LG monitor I can switch between the two computers. Although I've got one gripe with this PreSonus. So if you're selling something as Pro, why does it go through my speakers when you turn it on or off? I don't like that. I like that soft start-up stuff, especially first thing in the morning. It's kind of what you need, isn't it? Gentle.
Got to remember.
Are you liking your new Mac Pro? I presume you've got a dustbin.
Yeah.
Wastepaper bin.
Dude, I started rendering like a huge thing on Final Cut Pro X. How much heat does that give out when that starts cooking? I actually ended up putting a fan on it, because it was like, whoa. I didn't go for the kind of super deluxe one that you've got. I've got the kind of the beggar's version, but it was like a heater. It really was a heater. Really? So with that and the other Mac Pro in the room, it was like, okay, turn the dice, and I need to get some aircon. But yeah, it's good. The Final Cut Pro X I've gotten into a lot. I had a real issue with Logic Pro X. All my key commands had gone. It was just like, what's going on? Normally I fly my way around Logic 9 or Logic Pro. And then I found that bit where it's like the advanced features. I had to go to some tutorial video, and then it was like, I've got my life back. Yes.
It's like GarageBand Pro when you don't have that on.
I was like, how come I haven't got that track or whatever it is button? And it's like, so, I'm doing like fade ins and normalizing, control in, fade outs and stuff. And it was just like, nothing's going on. I'm seeing that function normalized thing. That's just giving me a level. And when I click OK, it doesn't do anything on the selected. It was driving me insane. I nearly threw it out the window, and then I found somebody's tutorial video on YouTube and went, and then it was like, oh my God, I need to click that. Yeah, it was a miracle. That was like a small, that was a moment of joy in a sea of angst.
Excellent.
How are you getting on with Logic X now?
To be honest, I haven't spent a huge amount of time. I'm just really starting to get into that over the thing. The big thing for me has been Final Cut Pro X.
I'll send you my license GUI if you want.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, because I know loads
I'll
of
put it
people
up
have
my
issues.
Dropbox and give you a link for it.
Yeah,
well, thank you. And also, Robbie, thank you very much for joining us too, and your client for sparing you to us for the time. I hope you have a great week, and we'll speak to you very soon, no doubt.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Rich Hilton, who's probably off to wax a hottie, as we like to say, any minute now. The charts are calling. They want their Rich Hilton back.
I'm looking forward to a good day. Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
It's great to be with you guys. Always.
Always good fun. Right. Okay. Well, on that note, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you next time. I will fade to black.